Hi, I'm the Autistic Critic, and welcome to my Wiggly Ranking. So, you're probably wondering why I did this. In my animation pipeline class in college, my professor often recommends classic media, stuff like the cartoons he grew up with. One day, he played a music video by the Wiggles, and he explained these guys to the class. Now here's the thing, I've had a connection to the Wiggles long before this. They provided the first music and TV show I ever fell in love with. So hearing my professor talk about them wasn't exactly news to me, but even so, it was such a wholesome and endearing lecture on a piece of my childhood that I couldn't shake it from my mind. This one lecture single-handedly moved me to check out every available piece of OG Wiggles content I could access. Emphasis on could. Some content has become lost media and or is unavailable in America, so if I miss anything, don't blame me. Blame distributors. In sharp contrast to Disney, Pixar, and DreamWorks, where I was keenly aware of the movies they were releasing throughout my childhood, I didn't check out every single Wiggly video that came out. So this marathon was a fascinating experience for me. As a kid, I saw these specials: Hoop-Dee-Doo, Wiggly World, Wiggly Christmas, Wiggly Safari, Yummy Yummy, Dance Party, Toot Toot, Top of the Tots, and Space Dancing. Thus, a lot of these were new to me. I thought the amount of videos that gang put out, which is like 30 plus, would make this ranking difficult. However, according to the wiki, some of these are just remakes of older ones. The remakes look more polished, and the older costumes show they hadn't quite found their footing yet. So for the sake of visual appeal and simplicity, I'm not including original videos that got remade. It would be a hassle to track down every single old Wiggles video and compare the originals to their remakes. I'm depressed enough by Disney forcing me to do that with their live-action remakes. Another rule I have is that we're only looking at videos from 1998 all the way to 2006, during the Greg era. Sorry Getting Strong, you were fun to dance to as a kid, but you marked a replacement that devastated my family. And don't ask me when post-Greg era ranking videos are coming out. They're not. With this in mind, I found myself with a list of 21 videos. Now let's get ready to wiggle. Beauty mite! Sailing around the world is a waste of my wiggle ranking time. It's just vignettes from the TV show wearing a trench coat and passing itself off as a special. I'm not exaggerating. I recognize certain clips from the show, but that's the tip of the wiggly iceberg. I learned from browsing the Wiggles wiki that this one has a mixed reception since it doesn't focus on the Wiggles very much. More often than not, we're dealing with Captain Feathersword and his crew between songs. To be fair, we didn't know how much worse this situation could get at the time. Years later, Star Wars TV shows would pull this bait and switch for 1 to 2 episodes. At least Shrek the Third knew who it was about from start to finish. Now, I'm not saying I dislike Captain Feathersword. If there's any Wiggles character I can safely say I don't like, it's the Wiggles talking door. She irritates me when she messes with anyone who doesn't deserve it. Thankfully, she's not present in this. While I can live with Captain Feathersword's misadventures, there's something else I can't. Wiggly animation. It genuinely gets on my nerves as someone studying animation. The facial expressions are deeply uncanny, especially for Greg and Jeff. I think a bead eye style like Tintin or my beloved Captain Underpants would have helped a lot. And yes, art style isn't everything, so thankfully, it also has technical errors. Characters' eyes slide to the side and snap back in place like a jump cut. In one shot, Greg and Murray are absent for a frame and suddenly appear.
See?
Everyone's head is facing forward toward the screen when they're supposed to be looking at said chicken, except Greg's. How did all of these slide? I can smell the flash animation on the chicken's legs.
That's not even a walk!
Just puppeted feet swinging back and forth like a pendulum. My professor who I established earlier would be ashamed of Wiggly animation if I showed him clips of it. I'm not asking for Looney Tunes or Disney level animation, but show some basic effort and attention to detail. This is like Lil Cutie from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I don't like it, but I can't stop viewing it. At one point, I had to pause the show and pull up the SpongeBob episode Your Shoes Untied. Not only because I was about to watch Search for SquarePants that day, but because I wanted to remember what quality animation looks like. The animation is frustrating, but at least the track list is decent. Most of the songs are serviceable. I like London Town, San Francisco Trolley Car, Goldfish, and the Sicily song. I love Fly Through the Sky, but it's a Wiggly animation segment in this special, and we'll get to a live-action music video for that song later in the list. The first song is a slow opera song sung by this guy, Professor Singolata Songna, portrayed by Sam Moran. Hey, he looks familiar, I wonder where he's from. It's truly surreal to look back and realize one of the Wiggles successors got his start as an ensemble member. The first song in a Wiggles video should get you excited. It's not fun to be put to sleep by the opening number because what kind of bar does that set? I guess one that calls for the Wiggles to say 1, 2, 3. Wake up, Jeff! I promise, even if the Wiggly animation wasn't so flawed, I still wouldn't care for this special. Now onto the real Wiggles videos.
It's like a TV clip show.
Here we have one of the Wiggles' earliest features, Wiggle Time. It's pretty much a compilation of music videos lifted from the TV show. Sailing Around the World has a similar route, but I'm giving this one the edge because it keeps its focus on the Wiggles the whole time. However, it doesn't really have a connective tissue, just title cards with bouncy sound effects. Maybe I put this one too low with the context that I had seen the TV show. Some of the songs are nice, like Get Ready to Wiggle, Here Comes a Bear, Rock-a-Bye Your Bear, and Uncle Noah's Ark. They would slot into Yummy Yummy really well to the point where, as a kid seeing clips from both specials playing in the TV show, I just assumed they were from the same special. It's watchable, but I don't think I missed out on anything by not knowing about this video as a kid.
Go Red Car!
This is odd. Here Comes the Big Red Car is a remake of Dance Party, the one and only old as heck Wiggles video I remember watching as a kid. Even back then, I remember questioning the aesthetics compared to what I was used to. Why was the Big Red Car cardboard? Why was Anthony wearing a teal skivvy? What was going on with Dorothy and Henry's appearances? I didn't actually ask these questions out loud. I didn't speak in full sentences until I was 7, but they were definitely floating around in my head. As an adult, I later learned this was from the Wiggles' infancy, when the budget and overall polish just weren't there yet. Knowing that now, it makes sense, but that brings me back to this remake. As expected, the music is catchy, I'll give it that. When Murray and a dancer named Claire build up an Irish jig, the instrumental comes from I Am a Dancer, from Yummy Yummy, which is a nice touch. The segue into Brown Girl in the Ring also sneaks in cultural education. I like Dorothy the Dinosaur's dance party song, and her vest is cute. The cow in I'm a Cow, however, earned a gold medal for the most unsettling face in all of Wiggly animation. Thankfully, this part is mercifully short, thanks to the song's 31-second runtime. I like this song better in Dance Party, where the Wiggles wore cow costumes with spots matching their skivvies. That was pleasing to look at. At one point, we get a stretch of segments and a song featuring Captain Feathersword and his pirate crew, and I genuinely thought I had accidentally put on Sailing Around the World. This entire section was shoehorned in between the lullaby and Rockin' on the Sea, which wasn't the case in the original. After that song, Jeff leads us back to the pirates, as if we hadn't spent time with them a few seconds ago. I don't blame him for this at all. It's clearly an editing issue, but the placement is disorienting. In the end, it's perfectly serviceable, catchy songs, familiar faces, and nothing outright bad. It just doesn't leave much of a lasting impression. I think that comes down to my lack of nostalgia for this particular feature since I'm seeing it for the first time now. There are plenty of Wiggles videos later down the line that I'd much sooner rewatch before this one.
Wait a minute here. They're just using the same songs over and over. What kind of a cut-rate production is this?
Splish Splash Big Red Boat is such a haphazard special. If you've watched many other Wiggles specials like I have, you'll notice a lot of these songs came from them. They have new music videos in varying mediums, so this isn't exactly lazy. They're filmed on the road, on a beach, or on the waves. The reason I said varying mediums is because this special has wiggly animation segments. Surprisingly, the Mariachi Wiggles animations are more competent than the English ones. It's still Flash, but they do convincing head turns and aren't facing forward the whole time. Getting back to the music, my favorite song in this is Dressing Up in Style. It's unreasonably infectious. I'd put it in my top 5 Wiggles songs. They didn't need to go so hard for this, but they did it anyway. This song appears in another special we'll get to later, so I'll save the rest of my thoughts for then. There's only one new song in this special, and it's at the very beginning. The obligatory Big Red Boat. In one of the sketches, Wags the dog introduces himself to the audience when Anthony is reading a book. I find it weird that in some specials and episodes, Wags talks, and in others, he's strictly barking.
That's funny, Murray!
This would be like if R2-D2 beeped constantly and then suddenly talked. Or if someone went from saying I am Groot all the time to saying I love you guys. You knew I was heading in that direction. My point is, pick a lane with whether or not your character talks, and then you're good. The Greatest Hits S compilation got on my nerves, but there was a sketch that I found was worth sticking out this entire special for. Captain Feathersword riding a jet ski around Sydney Harbor. We're treated to multiple locales in the city as Anthony narrates very interesting facts about them, such as Luna Park being Sydney's original amusement park, and that Sydney ciders called the Sydney Harbour Bridge, the big coat hanger. This adventure taught me more about Australia than I previously knew. That's the strange thing about me. I'm not really an expert on Australian culture, even though A, I loved the Wiggles, and B, I love Bluey. I should really start learning this stuff. Thankfully, This tour opened my eyes a little bit. Overall, this special is just regurgitated classics, but still manages to be 10 times better than Disney's live-action remakes. With that said, did I miss anything not seeing this as a kid? Not really. It's Time to Wake Up Jeff has a heart that's in the right place, but it has cons in common with Sailing Around the World and Big Red Boat. It has wiggly animation. Need I say more about that at this point? It contains a few familiar tunes, but it doesn't get on my nerves here because it doesn't feel like a greatest hits highlight reel. I enjoyed a good chunk of the songs. Romp Bump a Stomp slaps. Dorothy the Dinosaur might actually be my favorite Wiggle friend. That fondness even subtly bled into my teen life. When I saw Solo, A Star Wars Story in theaters, a guy working at the concessions asked if I wanted a Stygimoloch plushie from the then upcoming Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I bought it and named it Dorothy. The real ace in the hole is Walking on the Moon. I loved listening to this one as a kid. It's so peaceful, and this one clicks with me in particular because, I'm something of a space fan myself. It's Time to Wake Up Jeff has its moments, but it blends in with a lot of other Wiggles videos, so while it's pretty likable, there's not much justification to rank it any higher than this.
Spaghetti! You're my favorite food.
Cold spaghetti western is an odd feature. It's about the Wiggles being cowboys who help a pasta chef find a missing secret ingredient so he can win a cook-off at a town fair and save his cafe from going out of business. I think it's a charming idea, but the execution can feel achingly contrived at times, even for a Wiggles production. It feels like a 20-minute episode extended to 58 minutes long, and it shows. Why doesn't the town fair poster in a Wiggles mailbox say when it's happening? This is highly irresponsible advertising. If it wasn't for Murray's notifying boot invention, the Wiggles would have missed it. Oh yeah, Murray invents things in this special. The lengths these guys go to in searching for the Krabby Patty secret formula can come off as unbelievable. When the chef Alfonso is so down on himself for not having it, Anthony says,
"Not even a superhero could help us now."
And pesto! Food Man appears out of thin air. Initially played by Anthony, he's portrayed by Captain Feathersword's actor Paul Paddock this time. While Food Man exists in the TV show, he seems to be a figment of Anthony's imagination in this special. I assume this is because continuity doesn't exist in a Wiggles world. Oh wait, I was talking about the absurdity of the quest. Alfonso's lips are so sealed tight over what the ingredient of the secret ingredient soup, or in this case, pasta, is that Greg recommends the man draw it so they can help find it. There's a whole song about following a random bird because it somehow knows where the ingredient is. Said ingredient is from an olive tree that moves, and it's never explained why it moves. Not everything in the Wiggles world needs rhyme or reason, but the silliness works better when it's charming rather than confusing or just wearing out its welcome. There are also some legitimately good songs here, especially Where the Cowboys and Fiesta Siesta. However, there's some that come across as filler, like the Mariachi Duck song. I perked up when they referenced Crunchy Munchy Honey Cakes in the Food Man song. That number went unreasonably hard. There's a great gag where we see extreme close-ups on the Wiggles' faces akin to Western cinema, but Jeff is sleeping in his shot. That got a good laugh out of me. It's funny how the cook-off competitors are portrayed by every Wiggle except Anthony. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. Overall, Cold Spaghetti Western is at its best when it leans into the Wiggles' musical strengths and visual gags. Unfortunately, it loses steam whenever it stretches a very basic story past its limits. I wish I loved it more than I did. It's a cute special, one I jumped to the front and back on, but not quite a classic.
You've been responsible for one prank after another.
Wiggly Gremlins is kind of a frustrating special in spite of its overwhelmingly good elements. It takes place during the Wiggles season where they're running a TV studio. The premise is hijinks are ensuing at Network Wiggles. You immediately see the titular Gremlins are responsible, and you're just waiting the whole time for the gang to come face to face with them. As someone seeing this for the first time now, I'm trying to imagine kids watching this and being patient with the Wiggles not catching wind of the perpetrators at the same time as them. Dora the Explorer fans probably felt less rage trying to direct her.
Are we blind?
For an example of what I wish this was like, look at K-pop Demon Hunters. The movie is upfront about the Saja boys being demons, and Huntrix figures it out quickly too. Ergo, the audience's patience isn't tested by the conflict. I'm not saying I wanted the Wiggles to fight the Gremlins, I just needed them to be on the same page as the kids watching at home sooner than later, because everything else about the special works. In spite of the plot, there's some songs that perk me up. The Hat song is really groovy, and any Wiggles installment with dressing up in style is going to make me super happy. I know it sounds crazy to geek out over a song about dressing up, but it's genuinely one of the band's most addicting tunes to listen to. Look at the way they move when they're in the tuxedos. This song is a keeper. One of the reasons I love it is that it snuck a word into my vocabulary. I'm putting on my riding hat, got my boots, and my lariat. The theme song, Lights, Camera, Action, Wiggles, really gets me dancing. Ultimately, Woohoo Weekly Gremlins is a special I should enjoy more than I did. The songs are strong, the studio setting is fun, and when it's firing on all cylinders, it's genuinely entertaining. It's a good Wiggles special with a frustrating central flaw, one that keeps it from reaching its full potential. Still, when the music hits, it really hits. And that's why it lands here instead of lower.
Christmas is the greatest day in the whole wide world.
Santa's Rockin' is the last installment of the OG Wiggles Christmas Specials trilogy. What strikes me about this one is that it was the most expensive looking of their Christmas specials. With the first two, you could tell the budget wasn't exactly high, but they did a lot with a little. Here, everything looks so vibrant and aesthetically inviting. It's like they took the set from Top of the Tots and made it so festive. In terms of music, the Wiggles' take on Silent Night with the Mariachi family was nice. I perked up when King Mondo from Space Dancing guest starred in a song. I also liked Dorothy's Christmas Roses and the title track. However, I didn't find many of the other songs catchy. I remember the feelings in the moment, but not a ton else when the music stops, and that holds it back. One thing that stuck with me is that John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival fame shows up. That's wild. I wasn't expecting the Wiggles to catch a guest star with A-list cred. Meanwhile, Wiggly Wiggly World has guest stars most casual audiences won't recognize. This would be like if Ozzy Osbourne showed up in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Your mind would be blown! All in all, Santa's Rockin' is a good time. The holiday feeling is nice as always, and the original Wiggles Christmas trilogy went out with a serviceable but festive, colorful, and charming bang.
We're live.
This is the first concert movie I've ever tackled in a ranking. I remember going to a Wiggles concert as a kid. It happened to take place at the Hampton Coliseum, which isn't far from where my grandpa lives. Live Hot Potatoes does not depict that very concert, but it does a good job of showcasing what the Wiggles live shows were like. If you're looking to relive the feeling of being at a Wiggles concert, this gets the job done. The energy is strong, kids are having a wonderful time, and so is everyone on stage. This sense of connection is reinforced by small, live-only moments, such as children handing roses for Dorothy, which Murray actively gathers during the song My Favorite Dinosaur. On top of that, Anthony shares a sweet moment with a little girl close to the stage as she personally passes a cardboard bone to Wags. My favorite Wiggle, Greg, moves everybody to get up from their seats and dance along, not just the children. What can I say? Maybe that's the real punk rock. It's impressive seeing what the Wiggles accomplished on stage aside from playing the hits, such as Captain Feathersword dangling by harness during Eagle Rock, and inflating a massive balloon of Jeff in real time. I was half expecting it to fall on someone at the wrong time, which only makes it more impressive that it didn't. The editing is more creative than I expected going in. At times, the clips you get will be a video collage. When Murray tells the audience to get out their pretend guitars before Play Your Guitar with Murray, cuts to a kid who brought a ukulele.
When it's cut all together like that, you really get a sense of the scope.
I didn't have a bad time with this one. If anything, I didn't expect to have this much to say about a concert film. It does exactly what it sets out to do, so Live Hot Potatoes lands in a natural spot, all things considered. Racing to the Rainbow was the last Wiggles special with the original lineup until Surfer Jeff, which I'm not going to include since it came out in 2012, long after the era I'm covering. For context, Greg Page passed the Yellow Skivvy to backup dancer Sam Moran due to health problems, and it made a lot of fans very sad. But don't worry, lately he's been playing Franklin Roosevelt in an Australian production of Annie, so he's doing fine. Now with that knowledge in mind, was I expecting Racing to the Rainbow to be written as some big emotional finale for this era of the Wiggles? Of course not. I just wanted it to be another colorful entry for them, and it was. The premise is self-explanatory based on the title. The Wiggles and their friends decide to race to the end of a rainbow to see what's on the other side after a storm hits. What makes this one stand out to me among other Wiggles specials is that there is a story, and it's fairly tight. After roughly 20 minutes in, Racing to the Rainbow balances its premise with loose moments that are charming. At the beginning, everyone's playing hide and seek, and everyone takes it so seriously and not seriously at the same time. It's like they're in half plain sight, and yet Captain Feathersword can't find them. Greg is standing in the open like a statue, and Jeff is dressed like Fiyero. Next thing you know, they might play charades. Blindfolded. with sunglasses! Along the way, the rainbow itself throws individual challenges at each Wiggle. I like the guest appearance of Kamal from Wiggly Wiggly World as the Elvis-like king of the road, who informs them of these challenges. Seeing him again made me smile. In terms of the challenges, Murray fronts a rock band, Greg paints a spider portrait, both of those fit right in. Anthony, on the other hand, gets the most unexpected challenge, playing football with the New England Patriots. That feels completely random. Seriously, wouldn't it make more sense for Anthony to be a chef? He loves food. Jeff conducts an orchestra consisting of the Wiggles playing a lullaby. And here's the kicker. Everyone else falls asleep. This is my favorite challenge because it plays with a long-running gag rather than just giving him a random task. The music is good, for the most part. That chicken song I established back in Sailing Around the World gets on my nerves. It's repetitive, even by Wiggle standards. I get it. A chicken is walking down a road and has hiccups. Why don't you say it's toothless while you're at it? At least it's live action this time. On the flip side, the balloon song was a delight. I like the Daddy Longlegs song. The feather spider leg straps around their shoulders are neat. At one point, they even sing the Tra-La-La song. And that's the word I like because of this guy. Racing to the Rainbow isn't a grand send-off, but it's a solid, enjoyable special that's full of energy and fun.
The elf.
For some reason, I thought Yule Be Wiggling was the Wiggles Christmas special I watched as a child. I was pretty sure Wiggly Wiggly Christmas might have been an international title. I did a double check, and I was mistaken. Wiggly Wiggly Christmas is their first holiday special, and is later in the list. Many of the songs in this special are bangers. Look at the way everybody moves, it's so enchanting. I would watch this again any holiday season just for the choreography. In the segue before the song where the Wiggles are in a recording booth, Murray says that in Australia, it's really hot at Christmas time. I already knew that thanks to Bluey, but I'm sure this was interesting news for classic Wiggles audiences. It's a fine addition to my collection of Australian facts. The song to follow this news, And the World Is One on a Christmas Morning, is so heavenly. I'd put it in my top 5 favorite Wiggles Christmas songs. The standout song sequence to me was Jimmy the Elf. Its 3D animation reminds me of Caveland from Hoop-Dee-Doo. And while the Wiggle Elves look okay, Greg's model is uncanny. It's not stylized like the Wiggle Elves, it's just regular Greg. Speaking of which, Jimmy's lyrics were actually done by Greg, but with the Alvin and the Chipmunks voice effect. If this animation gave someone childhood trauma, I would completely understand. Overall, Yule Be Wiggling is a wonderful Christmas time. It's got entertaining songs to boot, charming bits, just anything you could ask from the Wiggles. What are you gonna get from showing your kid Rudolph or Frosty the Snowman for the 200th time when you've got the Holy Holiday trilogy of Wiggles gems going unnoticed? Go ahead and show them these classics. And we're back. Let's get into the top 10 now.
Toot toot! Toot toot toot!
Toot Toot was made during season 2 of the show, in which the Wiggles lived in a CG world that doesn't always hold up. The occasional CG bees that wave to the audience are creepy. I don't like looking at them. They make the human models from the first Toy Story look like the Incredibles. There's also a deeply pedantic nitpick where keyed footage of Food Man is flipped horizontally, which wouldn't matter, except his suit says FM, so now he's flying around wearing a big MF, and you understand why I couldn't vibe with that. Thankfully, once you get past the early 2000s CG weirdness, the special itself is built on a solid, Wiggles-friendly premise. The big red car breaks down, and the Wiggles spend the runtime trying to fix it by asking others for help. The story is broken up by musical numbers, but they're charming enough that I don't feel they get in the way. Their take on Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes is endearing. The food song is downright heavenly, and it genuinely made me smile. This special also contains Go Captain Feathersword Ahoy, my favorite song about the friendly pirate. It's triumphant, catchy, and captures the joy of cheering someone on. Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car is a song you wait the entire special to hear, and it doesn't disappoint. It's like the defying gravity of this special. Toot Toot is held back a bit by the dated CG, but its music is so strong and so foundational to the Wiggles' identity that it earns a high spot.
It's my birthday!
It's time to talk about Magical Adventure. The Wiggles movie. Magical Adventure could be the name for any kid's fantasy media. Why did America do this to us? More than any other Wiggles media, I feel like this movie was dealt many rough hands. There are no clips from it on the Wiggles official YouTube channel, it didn't get a theatrical release outside Australia, and some home versions altered the opening just so the Wiggles would show up faster because kids were asking where they were 5 minutes in. So what's the movie about? A clumsy magician wants to win a magic contest, so he steals Greg's magic wand to improve his act. Apparently, Greg has 67 spare wands. I'm not invoking the meme, that's really what the movie says.
The one doesn't really matter. I've got another 67 of them.
Meanwhile, the Wiggles are planning a surprise party for Dorothy's birthday. Now tell me if you've heard this one. She thinks they forgot, gets upset, and winds up entangled in the magician's shenanigans. They accidentally break the wand and go on a side quest to fix it. The premise is fine for these characters and the intended audience, and I like a good number of bits in this, like the walk down Burr Street, the Wiggles mixing up skivvies, and Anthony's apple catapult. Simple stuff, but it works. The town sets are clearly low budget, but they're nicely designed in a stagey storybook kind of way. And remember how I said I don't like the Wiggles talking door? I forgot just how creepy it looked back in the first season. Now let's talk about the music. The instruments for the opening song are so loud they drown out Greg's vocals. Otherwise, the songs are all perfectly serviceable, with some new tunes and familiar hits. However, I don't like the Little Wiggles take on Hot Potato. It feels like they were screaming the lyrics. I know these actors were kids, I shouldn't be too harsh, but the original is one of my favorite Wiggles songs, and they didn't do it justice. All in all, I felt sorry for the Wiggles movie, not because it's a hidden gem, but because it's a forgotten stone. At times, it feels like a TV episode stretched out to 83 minutes, but I can't be angry with that here. It's a colorful, sincere, and melodic experience, and that's good enough for me.
Yummy, 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 yummy.
Now it's a Wiggly party. Oh wait, that's later in the list. Yummy Yummy was the first early Wiggles video I ever watched, and the album for it was the only Wiggles CD I ever owned. That said, I remember listening to the Playhouse Disney 2 CD in my grandparents' car multiple times as a youngling, but I don't count that because the Wiggles only sing the first and last songs on that album. Much like Wiggle Time, the gang performs in a set with a cloudy wallpaper, which reminds me of Andy's room in Toy Story. I'm giving this one the thurver edge over Wiggle Time because the transitions feel smoother by having actual segues. I enjoy a handful of bits before the songs. Right before Shaky Shaky, the Wiggles have rhyming phrases as they get in shaking clothes, only for Murray to shrug when he can't think of a rhyme with for. That cracked me up. On top of the segues, I prefer the songs in this over its counterpart. They just feel so strong. I couldn't get many of them out of my head, like Crunchy Munchy Honey Cakes, Do the Monkey, and of course, Fruit Salad and Hot Potato. This is the Wiggles' early days at their best. Catchy tunes, camaraderie with children, and an overall vibe of positivity. I really feel like they found their footing with Yummy Yummy.
This Christmas feels like the very first Christmas to me.
Like I stated in the prologue, this was the only Wiggles Christmas special I watched as a kid. It really feels like my Wiggle Christmas by default. For starters, I like the opening instrumental mix of Jingle Bells and Get Ready to Wiggle. The opening number is only 30 seconds long, but it fills me with so much cheer going in. The songs rock. Go Santa Go went hard. Apparently the choreography was lifted from Grease Lightning. That's cool, I never knew that. Unto Us This Holy Night is so beautiful. It's so upbeat, but cozy at the same time. Which is wild, because the instruments used are fundamentally loud, but it just works. Everything about this song blends together perfectly, from Greg's wonderful voice to the pacing and the instrumentation. This is easily one of my favorites from this special. The opening segment where Anthony is talking with kids putting on a nativity play takes me back to when I portrayed Jacob and Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in high school. Speaking of which, the kid playing Joseph had the same name as his character. Benedict Wong is Wong and all that. Plenty of bits between the songs are charming, such as the time-lapse where the Wiggles, Henry, and Santa are having fun on a beach, which turns out to be a dream Jeff is having. That's a cute reveal. It doesn't really line up with what we learn about his dreams in space dancing because those are fully CG, so maybe he became an animator in his sleep. I also like Dorothy's dances before the instrumental number. I side with Murray that she's a great dancer. Overall, it just brings comfort and joy. It's not the most expensive Christmas special they did, but it holds up well in its simplicity.
Welcome to our beach.
As a kid, I saw trailers for Wiggle Bay on the DVDs for space dancing in Top of the Tots, but never saw it back then. Therefore, I was excited for this one going in, and I had a good time. The premise is simple. The Wiggles go on a fun trip to a bay, but Captain Feathersword forgot to tie up their boat, and now it's drifting away, leaving them become stranded, so they pass the time with songs and seaside adventures while waiting for the tide to bring the boat back. In terms of story, it's mostly the gang finding things: a shell, a message in a bottle, a key, and even a mermaid who happens to be friends with Henry. Yeah, there's technically more going on, but that's pretty much the gist. While the special could have leaned more into the downsides of them being stranded, it didn't need to be castaway.
I didn't want to survive! I wanted to live!
Wiggle Bay chooses the latter. There are some funny bits to be found. As the Wiggles paddle their canoe to Wiggle Bay, you can see Dorothy and Wags using guitars as paddles that aren't even touching water. I also laughed at the part where the Wiggles say words that rhyme with day and bay, only for Jeff to rhyme with anywho instead of anyway. It reminded me of that enrollment scene in Monsters University where all the staff names rhyme while Mike's signing up. As you would imagine, a lot of songs go hard. Dancing at Wiggle Bay is infectious. The transition feels totally random. Anthony proposes they sing to lift their spirits right after their boat drifts away, but I got over that fast. That's more of a pacing hiccup and not the song's fault. Same thing with the Zing Zang song.
The song about jumping on the deck and flopping like a fish
is super groovy. I was grinning so much during Barbie on the Beach. I thought that was Ken's job. The music all around radiates fun vibes. Overall, while Wiggle Bay doesn't crack the top 5 because the story is loose and barely goes places, its vibes are good enough that I'm glad I saw it.
Now, whatever you do, don't push this button.
Part of me feels like I'm committing an unforgivable sin by putting space dancing very high. I've heard some complaints that the animation hasn't aged well, and on some level, I get it, but hear me out. I watched this one over and over and over as a kid for 2 reasons. One is, I enjoyed the songs, and 2, it was pretty much the first time I saw characters transition from live action to being animated within the same film. In the special, this happens because the Wiggles appear animated in Jeff's dreams. This concept blew my mind! Anyway, the years went on, and you think I would have forgotten about space dancing by now. But I didn't! But I could have. Looking back, I can see some flaws. Some I spotted later, and ones I noticed even as a kid. First off, it was really awkward that Henry the Octopus got left behind on Earth while everybody else was in space. Dorothy and Wags board the spaceship completely unprompted during What's This Button For? During the last 2 choruses of that song, the Wiggles are supposed to be singing in unison, but all you hear is Greg, which is unintentionally funny. Plus, just like in live action, the animal characters' mouths don't move, which is a missed opportunity, sure. They even recycle 6 shots in the exact same order during the choruses of Dance Your Gloomies Away. It wouldn't surprise me if they couldn't make more scenes out of budget constraints or something.
No money means no animation!
But I never heard anything of the kind in the behind-the-scenes video that I checked out on the DVD as a kid. I found the animation stages footage for What's This Button For? Very tantalizing. It was so cool seeing them go from wireframe models to color-coded blocky figures to their final models, to the same thing but with lighting. It made me so curious about animation. Now here's the deal. Watching so many other Wiggle specials that have one too many things in common with each other, such as wiggly animation and recycling songs, has given me a newfound appreciation for space dancing. As the Wiggles' only primarily animated feature, there is nothing else quite like it on this list, and I truly cannot help but admire the ambition. I'm one of the 10 people who likes Lightyear in spite of any gaping, noteworthy problems. Sometimes I like it when an animated space thing shoots for the stars and smacks into asteroids every once in a while, and it's no different for space dancing. This special has a ton of bangers. What's This Button For? Is simplistic but goes hard. Eagle Rock slaps. And Dance Your Gloomies Away is one of my top 5 Wiggle songs, and an energized romp. Bump a stomp. Even though within the story it fails to cheer the Gloomies up, I don't care that it didn't work. It's entertaining in the same way Under the Sea is, where this song fails at its goal within the story, but the passion is enough to make me think fondly of it. All in all, space dancing isn't a technically perfect feature, but it was an ambitious enough experiment to leave a lasting impression on me.
What is this? A crossover episode?
You youngins may have heard of the Irwins, but did you know they had a crossover with the Wiggles? You might be surprised to know that, but let's talk about how I reacted. I discovered Steve Irwin through this. Not through Crocodile Hunter, not through cultural osmosis, but through a Wiggles video. For a long time, I thought Jimmy Timmy Power Hour was my first ever crossover, but nope, it was Wiggly Safari. Not even 2 minutes in, and the opening song pulls out all the stops and making my heart dance. plants. Not only that, but the whole video provides zoological education that feels interesting and fun. For example, cockatoos are common in Australia's inland, koalas are marsupials that eat eucalyptus leaves and have backwards-facing pouches so joeys can ride on their mothers' backs, and tawny frogmouths hunt at night and camouflage into trees during the day. These facts are entertaining springboards for charming needle drops. The snake song is a nice blend of contradictions. Its message is not touchy, but the singing is so buttery and the tempo and instruments are soothing. I don't know how else to put it. The dolphin song is so nice. The Queen of the Roses and Owl songs are shot like we're at a concert, which is why I included live hot potatoes on this list. Oh yeah, and the stage design looks exactly like the set from Hoop-Dee-Doo, so that's strange. Wiggly Safari earns its high ranking because it succeeds on multiple fronts: catchy music, interesting education, and an ambitious crossover that paid off.
Now I take to the sky like an ostrich!
As a kid, I saw trailers for Space Dancing and Wiggle Bay on one of the Wiggles DVDs I owned, Top of the Tots. Because I was in the dark about most Wiggles content that came out, it was a gateway to the wider Wiggles world. Space Dancing was the one and only Wiggles DVD I actively craved and received, while the others I had were just there, and I have Top of the Tots to thank for that. At first glance, this special feels like a highlight concert of new songs as of the time it was made. The songs range from serviceable to catchy. It's just 44 minutes of the Wiggles doing what they do best, delivering fun, kid-friendly music. It's a studio concert special that cuts back and forth between the performers and loosely connected footage. In terms of songs, I enjoyed plenty of them. Central Park, New York musically sounds like a fun walk. I learned from browsing the Wiggles wiki that the song New York Firefighter was inspired by 9/11 firemen. It still comes across as so upbeat and fitting their style. I also love the Doctor song, and I wave my arms and swing my baton. They've got a great beat to them. I put the special up this high because of my favorite song in the special, Fly Through the Sky. I guess these guys do what Captain Underpants doesn't. Top of the Tots serves as a prime example of everything that works in a Wiggles special. It's digestible, infectious, music heavy, and gives you all the time you could want without overstaying its welcome. It's a beauty mite. It's a wiggly, wiggly world. What a beautiful, diverse special. It takes us on a culturally enriching journey as guest stars from multiple backgrounds sing songs with the Wiggles and their friends. That's the heart of it all. While the world is so big, everyone feels so connected, and there's never a dull moment. All are welcome in the Wiggles world. I enjoy a lot of the songs from this video, such as Dorothy's song with Kamal and Taba Naba. They're solid, but the highlight for me is the Leaky Boat song. That one rocked my boat, in a good way. It's bursting with infectious energy, and the way Greg and Tim Finn's voices blend is so heavenly. Jeff also goes hard making bell noises on his keyboard during this number. It's a charming and wonderful song sequence from beginning to end. I also liked the reuse of the cow costumes from Dance Party I mentioned during One Little Coyote. It turns out this song was originated by Riders in the Sky. You know, the same band that sang Woody's Roundup in Toy Story 2. That's so cool, I never knew that. It's a Wiggly Wiggly World is a charming special. It's a celebration of music, culture, and more. With a diverse range of guests and infectious songs, it delivers on the title's thesis and shows what the Wiggles could do with an expanded scope. However, the top spot just barely eluded it. This one was a childhood treasure. Hoop-Dee-Doo It's a Wiggly Party is one of the Wiggles videos I watched over and over as a kid. I had no idea this served as a celebration of the Wiggles' 10th anniversary. To be fair, I didn't know how time works, but at the same time, it's great even when divorced from that context. Now that I think about it, this year marks the 35th anniversary of the band. Go figure. The energy stays consistently strong from start to finish, even with the segues between songs. I stay excited waiting for the next number, and even better, I can't find anything wrong with this one. It feels like a party a kid wishes would never end because they are completely in the moment the whole time. Wiggly Party has a ton of bangers. Yeah, I love Hot Potato and Fruit Salad, but many of these tracks are just as catchy. Wiggly Party, Captain's Magic Buttons, Play Your Guitar with Murray, Dance the Ooby-Doo, Zoological Gardens, and Caveland. This special keeps the momentum going, so every song feels just as exciting as the last. I'd also like to point out that during the farm song, they sing the lyric "A Dog Named Blue," which was a clever bit of foreshadowing for a future Australian worldwide phenomenon Anthony would make guest appearances in. The intro sequence goes hard. The Wiggles and their friends surf on planets. I've never seen that before or since. The transitions with inflating and deflating or zipping planets are appetizing to watch and get me pumped for the song sequence I'm about to experience. It's just so creative and exciting. Hoop-Dee-Doo is at number 1 for good reason. It shows the Wiggles at their most charming and endlessly rewatchable. The songs are memorable, the set pieces are immersive, and the whole experience is joyful from beginning to end.
This is the best Wiggles special I've ever had! Arrgh!
Well, that was fun. After making a video about music that defined my teens, it was exciting to talk about music that defined my childhood. Anyway, I should get back to making my Captain Underpants review. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Now it's time for me to go. Bye!